A long time ago, in Atikpo village, lived a young princess named Kadon. She was the first daughter of King Tabo, and like her two younger sisters, Kadon was unmarried because of her body size. She was not getting any suitors because she was extremely fat. Some villagers began to sing songs to mock her behind her back, and the issue of her weight was always on the lips of gossips. Some of them would say, I heard that she ties four wrappers so that they can go round her waist. Others would say, did you hear that she finished a whole pig in a day? King Tabo and his wife were troubled about their daughter's weight. Severally, they tried to set up arranged marriages for her, but nobody was interested. Kadon, on the other hand, had already given up on herself because she was so addicted to food that she could not imagine becoming slim in her lifetime. She believed marriage would probably not be an option for her because any man who agreed to marry her would be doing it for her status and not because he loved her. Kadon had always desired to be loved by whoever she married, although she was generally unhappy with life. She was able to find a bit of happiness from dancing. The princess was a fantastic dancer and oftentimes would hide in her hut and begin to dance to the beat she made from her mouth. Whenever there were festivals, Kadon would look for a lonely spot close enough to hear the music and dance. She was always hiding because she did not want anyone to mock her. It was the end of another successful year, and it was time for the annual festival between the four neighboring villages. And as usual, everyone was vibrating with excitement. Some people could not wait to showcase their best dresses. Some polished their dancing steps and practiced endlessly with their musical instruments, while others could not wait to enjoy the variety of entertainments that would be served on that day. Cardon, on the other hand, was only interested in finding a lonely spot that would give her the freedom to express her dancing steps. Finally, she found a spot where she could hear the drums and flute clearly. Then she began to dance with a broad smile on her face. However, she soon noticed the sound of the drum becoming louder and louder, but she ignored it because she was engrossed in her dancing. Suddenly, the festival music stopped, but the sound of the drum continued. She immediately turned her back and saw a man playing the drum with a huge smile on his face. The man stopped playing and asked her, why did you stop dancing? Kadon immediately began running, and the man followed her, but because she was too heavy to run fast, he caught up with her. Leave me alone, she said while panting. Go and look for your comedic life somewhere else. The man looked at her kindly, wondering why she thought he was a joke to her. I got lost trying to get to the market square, and I was trying to find my way when I saw you dancing over there. So I decided to support with my drums, he said kindly. Kadon took a closer look at the color of his attire and realized that he wasn't from her community. She thanked the man for drumming for her and then directed him to the market square. However, the man insisted that he would rather continue playing for her, and without Kadon's approval, he began to drum again, urging her to dance. When Kadon saw that he was not going to give up, she began making small hip movements to the tune of his beats. After all, what did she have to lose? He was just a stranger who she would probably never meet again, and she had the opportunity to dance like she always wanted. After a long while, Kadon stopped dancing. Thank you, Mr. Drummer, she offered. I really enjoyed myself. The stranger replied, my name is Fana, not Mr. Drummer. Kadon told him her name, and then said she had to return home. But Fanem pleaded with her to come back the next day, and surprisingly, Kadon agreed. On her way home, she thought about the man, wondering why he was so nice to her and even wanted to spend more time with her. Of course, he's not attracted to me, she thought to herself. To Kadon's understanding, it was unusual for such a handsome man to like her. Throughout that night, she couldn't stop thinking about him, but she tried her best not to get too excited because she thought she would be disappointed at the end. The evening of the following day, Kadon set out to meet her new friend, Fanan. When he set his eyes on her, he was so excited, and Kadon was excited to see him as well. They talked for a long time and got to know each other, and afterward, he drummed for Kadon to dance, to which she danced happily. Suddenly, days turned into weeks and they kept on meeting each other at frequent intervals, and both of them always looked forward to these meetings. It was always the best time of their day, without question. Finally, Fanan told Kadon how he felt about her, although she suspected that he liked her before that time. She did not want to jump into any conclusions. She was happy when he finally voiced it out, because she felt the same way too. I can come with my parents on the next market day to see your parents, he offered. Kadon could not believe what he said, so she burst into tears. Kadon quickly informed her parents that a man from the next village would come and see them to ask for her hand in marriage. The king and queen were very happy and excited. They never knew a day like that would finally come. But unfortunately, calamity struck a week before the arranged meeting. An airborne disease spread around the entire four villages and its surroundings. To prevent people from spreading the disease, each village closed its borders and their rulers also instructed their citizens to stay indoors. Kadon was very sad that her future husband would not be able to see her every day as they had become accustomed to. To make matters worse, some days after the borders were closed, Kadon contracted the airborne disease, and for more than 4 months, she struggled to stay alive. The illness greatly affected her appetite, making it very difficult for her to finish half a plate of food in a day. As the month went by, a herbalist found the cure and people gradually began to feel better. When Kadon fully recovered, the first thing she discovered was her massive weight loss. She could not believe it. She was almost as slim as her two sisters. It was a dream come true. Her weight wasn't the only thing that had changed. Her face had also become modified, and her beauty was evident for even the blind to see. She realized that wherever she went, she was stared at in admiration by men who never glanced a second at her in the past, and the wealthy men amongst them also began to approach her for conversations about marriage. Kadon began to feel on top of the world, and all of a sudden, she felt too good for Fana. When the borders were finally open, Kadon went to their usual meeting spot to wait for him because she knew he would definitely be there waiting for her. When Fana set his eyes on her, he almost did not recognize her. "Wow, my princess, I miss your beautiful smile," he said. Kadon, however, gave him the cold shoulder. She felt too big to be in his presence. Fana thought she was only acting up because she had missed him for so much. So he began to play the drum for her to dance, but she shouted at him, ordering him to stop the noise. "Mr. Drummer, I am not interested in whatever you are playing. I only came here to tell you that I am not interested in marrying you anymore." Fana was alarmed at her change in behavior. "I know you have never been with a princess before. That is why you are always smiling like a goat," she said. She stood out of the place, warning him never to reach out to her as they did not belong to the same class. Weeks passed and Fanan kept sending messages to Kadon so she could have a change of heart, but she ignored all of them. Instead, she was entertaining the long line of men who she believed were in her class. To choose a suitor to settle down with, Kadon decided to host a wrestling competition for the eligible bachelors in the village, and anyone who emerged the winner would be crowned as hers. The competition was set and news of it went beyond the borders of her village. A lot of men signed up to win the heart of Kadon, the first daughter of the great King Tabo. The king even invited royalties and affluent people to the event. Kadon decided to stay indoors for the next 4 months to receive the best beauty treatment to showcase her beauty to her suitors. But she failed to recognize that it was the illness and loss of appetite that followed that made her slimmer. Her old eating habits remained the same. So while Kadon was indoors, she kept eating her large portions and day by day she gained weight steadily. When the 4 months had elapsed, Kadon had returned to her previous size. She was disappointed in herself and tried her best to cancel the event, but her father refused. I am sure you will find a suitor regardless of your present situation, he said to her. On the day of the event, warriors, farmers, traders, and many eligible bachelors made their way to the village square, preparing to win the hearts of Kadon. But when Kadon was called out to greet her suitors, the men stared at her in shock. She wasn't what they had bargained for, and one by one, they began to walk away, making their way back to their homes in disappointment. Kadon had never been so embarrassed. When she was about to leave the place in shame, her eyes caught a familiar figure. It was Fanan, but it wasn't the Fanan she was familiar with. He was dressed like royalty, very different from the basic material he wore to their meetings. They looked at each other for a while, and a voice soon interrupted their gaze. My prince, your father is ready to leave now. Fanan was royalty, and his father was the king of one of the 4 villages, but because of his love for music, he would usually disguise to play with everyone during the festivals because he did not want to be treated specially by other villagers. As Kadon watched Fanan turn his back and began to walk away, she realized that she had lost a good man who loved her regardless of her body size, and very genuinely too. It was a pity because she never got the opportunity to find love, and eventually she has to settle for the worst. She became the 10th wife of an old chief after spending most of her years as an unmarried fat spinster.